Hi, and welcome to another author advice. And today we're going to be talking about low cost marketing of your books. Isn't that going to be fun? Okay, so I've got a few tips for some of the more inexpensive ways to market your book so you don't break your budget, or if you have a small budget to begin with, to try and fit these marketing strategies into that budget. So first up, um, the most obvious and the best low cost marketing you can take advantage of is newsletters. And I know a lot of authors go, no, not the newsletter, but it's not as hard as you think. Now, I feel your pain because I was like that too. I didn't know how to start the newsletter, didn't know what to put in it. And sometimes I still struggle with that. But the reason why newsletters are so important is it allows you to build a targeted audience. And I'll be talking about targeting later. So stay tuned for that. And it also it allows you to do group promos and newsletter swaps to that targeted audience. So newsletter swaps are the most important, low cost, no cost even, marketing tool that you can have as an author. And that basically means that you find an author who has a book that's similar to yours, and you exchange mentions of these books in your newsletters. So basically, they're sending your book out to their audience, and you're sending their book out to your audience. If that made any sense, I hope. And it costs you absolutely nothing to do this other than what you're paying, if you're paying anything for a newsletter, which I will get to in a minute. So, and you can find these newsletter swaps. There are Facebook groups for it. Author groups do newsletter swaps all the time. I personally use Story Origin for my newsletter swaps. You, there are also some, I think, on BookFunnel. If you happen to be on BookFunnel as well, I don't use BookFunnel too much. But Story Origin is a paid site now. It's not too expensive for a yearly subscription. So if you want to look into that, you cannot do the newsletter swaps through the free subscription on Story Origin. So you'll need to have the paid if you're going to use Story Origin. But you don't need to use something like BookFunnel and Story Origin. You can actually find newsletter swaps in author groups, like I said, and there are newsletter swap groups on Facebook targeted at different genres. So if you don't want to spend the money or can't spend the money to join one of the sites like BookFunnel or Story Origin, just go to Facebook and search for groups. And that's an excellent way to do it. And also in newsletters, you can use group promos. Now, group promos, if you want to do free group promos, Prolific Works is a good place. Now, they do not have sales over on Prolific Works. It's all free giveaway promos. You can do sale promos with BookFunnel and Story Origin. And you can include these in your newsletters too, which is basically you're in the group promo with a bunch of other authors of your similar genre, and people flock to it, to everybody. Hopefully, everybody who's in the promo is sharing out to the newsletter, and all their readers are flocking to this group promo to check out the books. Hopefully, some people will like your book. So that's two relatively low cost, no cost way to promote your book, and it's very effective. And where do you get a newsletter, you ask? Well, the two main sites, there are a few minor sites that I've looked into. I didn't wasn't too impressed with the minor sites that do newsletters because a lot of them are limited in what they offer. But the two main sites that are good for authors are MailChimp and MailerLite. Now, most authors prefer MailerLite, and I'd have to agree it's probably the better site. However, it only gives you a free newsletter up to 1,000 subscribers. After the first 1,000 subscribers, you have to pay their fees. Now, their fees are cheaper than MailChimp, but MailChimp gives you a free newsletter up to 2,000 subscribers. So you basically have to kind of balance out what you want and how fast you think your newsletter is going to grow, and whether or not you can afford the payment up to 1,000. Because I've been on the MailerChimp 2,000 subscriber rate for quite some time, and I've managed to keep it down under 2,000 subscribers because you just plunk up those unsubscribes and off MailChimp, and you can keep your numbers pretty even. So eventually I may have to go over to MailerLite. We'll have to see. But anyway, so that's basically what you use for sending out your newsletters. What you put in your newsletters, now that's the complicated part. And I'll have more on that and where to find advice in part 2 of this marketing. So this is actually part 1. I forgot to mention that. Oops. But basically, you try to be engaging. You share a little bit about what's been going on in your author life, your real life, and updates on your books, your writing, how things are going. And it's basically, it's very much like, giving a writerly update here on YouTube, as I know some of you do, or a vlog, only it's in a newsletter. So it's not as difficult as you might think. Although I know some of us have trouble, me included, writing that engaging personal stuff. It's like, yeah, my life is boring. What do I tell them? But you never know what they're going to like. So you just got to keep chugging along. All right. So, and the second tip I have for you comes in the form of promos. Now, these ones are going to cost. Promos cost these days. You can't get around it. The trick is finding the ones that work for you at the lowest cost. And there are a few things you can do that are also free. They're not as effective as the paid promos, but every little bit helps. And we will get into that in a minute. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is promo stacking. Now, promo stacking is those paid newsletters that you see in your inboxes and around the internet. Things like Bargain Booksy, Free Booksy, Book Doggy, Just Kindle Books, things like this. Robin Reads, stuff like these. Now, basically, what you do is you sign up your book. I mean, most authors know to use these for launches, but I'll get into more on how to use them on a more permanent basis. So you sign up, you pay an amount of money. Generally, most of them is $50 or under. Some of them are over $50. It depends. And of course, you've got the holy grail of them all, which is the BookBub, but we won't get into that because this is low budget marketing, not spend hundreds of dollars marketing. So basically, you sign your book up and they approve it or they don't approve it. Some of them are a little hard to get into. And they send out your book in their email mailouts, and people see it and hopefully click on it, hopefully buy it. Now, the mistake a lot of authors make are using one day and having them all on one day, like having 3 or 4 different promo mailouts on the same day. Do not do that. You want to promo stack, which is basically you send out one mail, you sign up for one list on day 1, you sign up for another on day 2, sign up for another on day 3, day 4, etc. And now this is how you do the launching. But in addition to doing a launch, you do this every quarter. So because usually there's about a 3-month waiting period before you can apply again and have your book on their list again. 3 or 4. It depends on what site you're using as to the amount of time you have to wait. But you schedule these promos every quarter. And so now, like I said, this one's going to cost you a little bit of money because that $30 thing does add up a little bit. But if you keep your book out there in the eye, it does help sales. Now, some of the I'll give you a list here of some of the ones that are a little less hard on the pocketbook. Now, Bargain Booksy is a good one. It's a little pricey though; it's about $50, but it does generally tends to get fairly good results. And they also have a sister site called Free Booksy, which is for free books. Bargain Booksy is for like 99-cent sales. And then you've got ebook Betty, which is one I like. It has launches, it has new releases, new release pricings. You can have regular one, and I think you've got one for to boost your book, sort of thing. If you've got like a book that's lagging, you want to give it a boost. But that one's pretty good price. I'm not sure if they're still on there. Like they were running a half price deal on their site to counteract the horror that's currently going on. I'm not sure if that half price deal is still going on or if they've gone back up to the price, but they're generally under $30. I think it was. I'm not sure what their current prices are because everything's in flux these days. But I like them. They generally give reasonable results for me. I don't. Like I said, but it kind of depends on your genre and what your book is. Anyway, and I also tried Just Kindle books, which I got surprisingly good results from. So I would recommend them as well. And I think they're also around $30. And Book Doggy also wasn't too bad for me, so I'd also recommend that one. So that's how you do promo stacking. Now, other promos. Now, this one is absolutely free, but you have to work at it. And that is promo threads in Facebook groups. Now, if you're on Facebook and you're in your genre groups, your reader groups now, not your author groups, your reader groups, quite often these groups will have certain days set up and certain little threads in their groups for promos. And they allow authors to come in and put a little tag blurb, a little link. And so if a reader happens to find it, I mean, now you're not going to get a lot of sales of this, but you are going to get a little visibility out of it. And you may get a sale or two. So, if you see one of these promo threads, drop your link. You're not going to lose anything. You're not going to spend any money on it. And it's free promos. And another promo thing, which is good, are builders. Now, builder is it's to get you followers. It's either to get you followers on your newsletter, subscribers on your newsletter, followers on your Twitter, your Instagram, or your TikTok. And occasionally, also another side of these builders are book fairs, which are basically you sign up and the person running the book fair has this page on their site, and basically they will advertise your book for a little bit for a thing that's quite often giveaways or freebie things to go with these book fairs. And so that's a little bit of publicity. You can get download some links. It's a good way, especially if your book's on sale, to get some visibility on it. Now that's what a book fair is. Now a book builder, like I said, is to build up your newsletter subscribers or your social media followings. And you have to be careful with both of these because as you know, there are a lot of people out there taking advantage of authors, and there are some of these things that have absolutely no value whatsoever. So you do have to do your homework. I personally recommend CL Cannon's builders and book fair site giveaways. She runs Fiction Atlas Press. She does these builders. She's over on Facebook. And they're really inexpensive. It's about $30 around there. Now I'm in Canadian money, so it might be cheaper for you US guys. But they are excellent. They're effective. She targets genres specifically, subgenres specifically, and most of the followers and subscribers you get are reasonably good, and they're not going to just get the freebies and leave. They're going to stick around for a while. So, I mean, some will, of course. You always get some subscribers from these things. That's the nature of the business. But I do recommend C.L. Cannon, Fiction Atlas Press, and her book builders if you want to go that route. I used her builders, and I built up my BookBub following to over 1,000 followers, so I could do the pre-order thing on BookBub. So it's effective, and I do recommend her site. So definitely look into it. Okay, and the next low cost marketing tip we have is the dreaded reviews. Everything authors hate. How to get reviews. Yeah, I'm still working on that one myself. So yeah, but reviews are good. Now, the thing about reviews. Now, I use Story Origin again for my reviews. It's so easier to get reviews. But also remind your newsletter people every once in a while. Don't be pushy about it. It's like, this book could use a few more views. If any of you guys have read it, I'd love you to drop a few lines and give it a like, sort of thing. That's a good way to. And don't be afraid to research review sites, review blogs, and submit. Just read the guidelines on these things, okay? Read the guidelines. If you're submitting to a review blog, do not submit to a genre. Do not submit a horror book to a romance review blog or a romance book to a horror review blog. Do what they ask. If they say don't send the book, send a query first. Send the query first. Pay attention. Do what they ask. There are reasons, and as a person who runs a book blog, I know there are reasons people have guidelines and rules and instructions for you to follow. So follow them. It will help your chances of getting reviewed if you follow them. Because if you break these rules, you're going to annoy the reviewers. You don't want to annoy the reviewers, okay? Just saying. So, so get your reviews. And get your reviews not just on Amazon. Now, Amazon is where we want the reviews, sure. But get them on places like BookBub. Get them on places like Goodreads, where the readers can see them and they're visible. Because and if you get lucky enough to get a review on a book blog, for heaven's sakes, share the reviews. Share the review snippets. Say, oh, I got a great review today on your Twitter, and share a little snippet so people see, oh, this person liked it. Maybe I should check it out. These are helpful little things you should do with your reviews. They're not just little lumps to sit on Amazon. Share them. Okay, and our next new cost may seem a little odd that I'm including this one, but bear with me. Advertising. Now, when I say advertising, I'm not talking about Facebook advertising. Although you can advertise on Facebook. I personally do not like Facebook. I've made no secret of how much I hate Facebook, even though I'm there, because you've got to be there. So I do not use Facebook ads. However, if you want to use Facebook ads, I would recommend listening to some of the David Cochran's videos. Alana Terry is also a good Facebook guru, so go check them out. The ads I use are Amazon ads. Now, I didn't understand Amazon ads, no clue. I tried to research it, didn't know what I was doing, until I found Brian Cohen's 5-day Amazon ad challenge. It's a free 5-day course. You can take it over on Facebook. He's running the next one, I think, in April. And it's an amazing course. for you to figure out how to do low cost ads, keep them running, keep them chugging out their views. And I don't spend more than $20 a month on these ads, so it's not too expensive. And he also has a lot of extra tips on blurbs and categories and keywords and all sorts of things in that course. I do recommend it. I'll be talking more about that in part 2 of this low marketing videos. So be sure to check out that. So you can run ads, low cost ads, and be effective with them. So, pay attention to, don't be afraid of your ads. And another thing that can help in the ads and all those analysis and keywords and categories and all that marketing stuff that's so confusing is Kindlepreneur. I recommend going over there and reading their articles, on watching the videos, and all sorts of wonderful stuff. Great resources over there. Definitely recommend it. They're really, really knowledgeable people over at Kindlepreneur. And I also recommend Publisher Rocket. Now, some of you may not want to, because that is a bit pricey, but it's worth the money. And they do have a lifetime subscription that you can buy. Like, you don't have to pay the monthly subscription. You can go with the lifetime. That's what I did. And I found it an invaluable tool. It's great for researching keywords, categories, competition, all sorts of things. I use it quite a bit. So I do recommend Publisher Rocket if you can afford it. So, and now we come to the next topic, which is social media. And the number one thing I can say about social media is social media does not sell books. Okay? Do not use social media to sell your books, which is, when I say that, I mean to buy your book. Do not do that. Social media is for engagement. It is for telling people who you are, talking about what you write, not pushing the book for sale, just saying, I write dragons and I love this about dragons, or if you write something else, stuff like that, going on YouTube collabs, doing YouTube how-to videos, talking about stuff and just sharing stuff and engaging with your audience. You want to engage on social media. You don't want to sell. It is not, you do not want to put on your salesman face on social media. You want to put on your, I read this good book today, or I love fairy tales sort of face. So don't bother wasting your time selling your book on social media. Sell yourself on social media, not your books. And the last one I have to talk about today is targeting. This is the one a lot of authors, especially new authors, get wrong, is they try to do too broad a targeting. And you don't want to try and sell your fairy tale fantasy to people who read epic fantasy and don't like fairy tale fantasy. You want to target your books to the fairy tale fantasy readers. Now, it may broaden out, but you want to narrow your focus in the beginning. You want to target your audience where the book is going to do the most appeal. And I see especially a lot of people, they just sort of throw it out to every genre. And it's like, no, don't do that. It's like, do not do that. You want to target, you want to figure out what your book is about. And I know this is hard sometimes when you have like mashup books, but the easiest way to find out what your thing is, what is your book's main theme? What is it? Is it fantasy quest? Is it a fantasy romance? Is it a sci-fi thriller? Is it like a big space epic? Is it like a psychological horror? Is it a monster horror? And then figure out what genre that is, because if you psychological horror fans love psychological horror, but maybe the gore people aren't so much into it, right? So figure out your targeting. And when you figure out your targeting, you can figure out your categories. And this is very important. Do not put your book into categories that have absolutely nothing to do with your book, because not only will that dilute your targeting and dilute your readership, it may get you bing ting. I can't talk today. It may get you a bad attention from Amazon, because Amazon's kind of cracking down on books in the wrong categories lately. So do not put your book in the wrong category. Make sure you know what categories your book should be in. And if you can't figure out what categories your book is in, find something that's similar to your book and either use Publisher Rocket, which I mentioned, or you can go to BookLink and do the same thing. And you can see what categories that book is in. And then you can get an idea of what categories your book should be in. So remember, targeting is key when you're advertising and marketing, okay? Targeting is key. Remember that. And that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed my rambling, as always. And I will see you later with part 2, where I talk about my my 3 most important gurus that I use for my marketing. So I'll see you later. Bye for now.